So Kim, Andy, thank you guys so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. It's great to meet you.
So would you tell me, both of you, a little bit about your background, kind of what got you interested in this line of work, kind of your origin story? I'd be curious to hear it.
Well, I originally was in the more beauty industry as an esthetician, massage therapist, and then we had a hurricane where I lived, and my job was eradicated, and I was taking care of my grandmother, so I became a nurse and jumped into German functional medicine, and now we're 28 years later, and so the evolution has been looking at everything from pain management to nutrition and now genetics, and how can we tie that in to empower people? Because I always want to see how a person can really take charge of their life and feel their ultimate self.
I can't tell you the number of people that I've talked to that talk about a grandmother or a great-grandmother, I'm gonna cry, but like as their basis for doing what they do. Like the people that we've spoken to talk about like, well, my great-grandmother was dying or she died, or just like that kind of that bigger reason why, like in terms of why you do something. So that's just amazing. How about for you?
For me, 11 years undiagnosed and misdiagnosed with an autoimmune.
Wow.
And I saw everybody.
Wow.
And I did the craziest treatments, you name it. And kept seeing a lot of friends doing testing with integrative doctors. They were trying to address ADHD in their children. And a lot of it was methylation issues. And when they told me how it worked, when I learned about DNA and the fact that understanding, I was doing everything right. I had gone complete Ayurveda diet. I had gone vegan. You name it, I did it.
Just in an effort to solve this issue that you were having.
The chronic fatigue and everything. So this was a passion project for me. Once I saw, I didn't even know I had an autoimmune when I addressed my genetics, and I suddenly felt different.
Wow.
I felt better than I had felt in over 10 years.
Wow.
So I didn't find out until about a year after being on a customized for me supplement. I didn't know that I had an autoimmune until then.
So for you, it was desperation because you had tried, I can't tell you the number of doctors that have come and spoken to us. And, you know, I often say they have like 7 minutes to look at a patient, figure out what's wrong, because there's 10 lining up in the waiting room, and they give typically their best. I mean, they're doing the best they can, but typically it's like, take this pill, next, take this pill, next. If you have pain in your shoulder, take this pill next.
Right.
So they're really caught in this tough position of trying to give good advice, but the system is such that they have very little time to do it, and their solutions are very much like, just take this pharmaceutical, you'll be better.
Right.
So,
well, when I did find out what was going on, I went back to my original endocrinologist, and I asked him if he had tested me properly, and he literally, I mean, it was, you appeared to have something else. I said, so you didn't even.
Right.
And I was like, so I mean, I'm just a big believer that we're here to serve.
Totally.
And the idea of simplifying, I mean, personalized biohacking simplified for an individual.
Right.
Instantly, you can know, yeah, you can do everything epigenetically correct, but what if that one variant is causing you from absorbing, utilizing, detoxing, whatever it is, and you could change your trajectory.
And so doing it from a DNA perspective, my guess is it cuts out the guesswork, because you come in with a symptom and it's the doctor's or holistic doctor's job to try to almost play Inspector Clouseau and to figure out like what's happening, why is it happening. And it sounds like from a DNA perspective, you take a lot of the guesswork out because you know exactly, perhaps, tell me if I'm right, but you know exactly what's going on from a DNA perspective. Did I get that right?
Absolutely. I mean, you can see where the variances are, we only work with actionable genes, so we can see exactly where the variance is, what's been proven scientifically to help make that gene function optimally. So it's like cellular regeneration right there.
What is an actionable gene? That's curious to me. Sorry, and I won't get too technical.
That's okay. So an actionable gene is a gene that literally can flip on and off. So think
like a
about,
light switch.
You go through life and then you're just a young kid and you feel so great. Your genes aren't changing, but suddenly stress is one of the biggest things. And stress hits and suddenly there maybe a problem comes, right? Or now you have high blood pressure. Or things like that. They can turn on and off.
Amazing.
So if giving the body what it needs, or it's biohacking, it's that, I don't methylate.
Right.
And I need to do that biohack by giving myself the bioactive format of vitamin B, and it changes energy, sleep, digestion. It's associated with everything.
I think if you were to go back even 5 years, the term biohacking was something that might be kind of relegated to the East and West Coast. Like the people in, California or Florida or New York, biohacking is, oh, Dave Asprey and biohacking, and it seems cool and interesting. But it seems like as time goes by, biohacking is something that's more accessible to the normal person that may not be like so caught up in the health and wellness game. Do you think that's true, or?
I do believe it. I mean, we're getting to the point that technology has advanced and science has, and it needs to be simple.
Right.
The average person isn't going to. I watch so many things, and with people telling, I did this test on myself, and this, and this, and this.
Right.
How many tests are you going to do, and how much time do you really have to track everything?
Right.
I mean, if you can simplify it with a simple survey and understanding you, it's the algorithm of you.
Right. Has the level of testing, in other words, the types of testing that are available now, were they not available 5 years ago? In other words, if you, drop off a stool sample or a blood sample, has that level of testing gone up quite a bit in terms of what you can get out of it, or?
So you have to remember too, testing, a lot of times you go into an office, you get tests, and the doctor hasn't looked at your tests before you come in to go over them.
Right, because he's just like, okay, great, here it is.
And you have to track what's happening with the changes of tests. And some of those tests are right now in this 5-minute moment versus genetics are, here's what you have.
Right.
This is your foundational area that we know we're going to have to either support or, hey, you're running great with this. It's less of a worry. So it gives you an idea of where your weaknesses may be. But those weaknesses are just an opportunity for challenge because we know we can fix that. And that's what we mean by the actionable part is instead of just getting a problem, you get a solution.
Right.
Because so often...
Here's the problem. We don't know what the problem is.
Or a test. So many doctors and practitioners test, but I'm always like, well, if we're not going to change your treatment plan and this isn't going to help clarify what's going on, why are we doing this? So we want it to be an action test, too, that's trackable.
To what degree does your DNA have to do with, your ability to suffer from inflammation issues or pain issues? Is it diet related? Is it stress related? Is it, in other words, if I'm super stressed, would that show up in my DNA test that I'm stressed, or you would just, how do those interrelate?
Stress wouldn't show up in a DNA test.
Except for your grandparents may have been in, say, the Holocaust or a war.
I got it. So it's
and we can
past
see
trauma
how that past trauma changes the genetic presentation of the, up to 7 generations. So it's pretty powerful how it may not show up in your lifetime, but your offspring will definitely be affected by it.
Tell me about SNiP then. What is it attempt to do that is so different or unique in terms of what's out there now?
So not only do we do the genetic testing, give you simplified understanding why. That's everybody's big question. Oh, so-and-so told me to take this, and so-and-so told me to take this. And no, what is it you need? What's right for you? So not only the test and to simply understand, we're really nailing down through what genetic impacts our cardiovascular health.
Oh, interesting.
Which ones affect mood or cognitive function, so that you can understand the why you might need something.
Got it.
But then we actually have the ability to formulate just for the individual, based on their foundational genetic makeup.
Crazy.
We hit the 18 heaviest hitters, and based on that, there could be 1 in 400 million different variations. And it comes with your name on it.
And the 18 heavy hitters, tell me about that. What are the 18 heavy hitters?
Cardiovascular health.
I see. Okay.
Inflammation.
Okay.
Detoxification.
Okay.
Healthy gut. Vitamin D receptor.
I see.
Oxidative stress. There's methylation. So it goes through those and tells you these may or may not be problems for you because they're not always a problem.
Right.
And so you can also fine tune where your focus is going to be, both with epigenetic support, so better sleep, better stress management, or nutrient support. But instead of having 20 different options, it's all kind of put together for you.
So for the layperson that doesn't know what methylation means, what is methylation?
I have the best thing to tell you.
Please tell me.
Okay. got a Ferrari, right?
A Lamborghini, but
Okay. All right. So you have this amazing sports car.
sure.
All right. And it needs premium unleaded gasoline.
Yep,
And you put diesel fuel into
that's a problem.
What does it do to the engine?
Destroys it.
Correct. That's ultimately what methylation is.
So it's
We
more
need a
like
different
what you're
form-
inputting
we
into the
need a
body.
different format of a vitamin, say a vitamin B,
I see.
because my body can't take it and convert it and use it. Would that be a great way for you to explain it?
Definitely. And it also helps with recycling. So in our bodies, we have to be efficient and we have to take one substance and mix molecules and create another substance and then get the pathway to happen again. And so it's using the right fuel to get the right pathway to create all the enzyme reactions and recycle it so you can keep doing it.
So the customer of yours, would they go to like a Quest Labs? I mean, I've done this before for various tests and stuff, but do you go to a lab and you order up this specific genetic testing? How do you get a genetic testing done? Is it universal?
It'll come right to your house.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It'll be in a DNA swab kit,
Cheek thing
Cheek
or
swab.
whatever.
cheek swab.
And then what happens then? It gets
Sent
back to your lab.
Back to our lab. It takes about 3 to 4 weeks.
Wow.
And then we can start with a prep product if an individual wants to, just getting your body ready. I've seen people that do have detox, when they do have detox maybe issues, and they suddenly go, the custom compounded formula can have nearly upwards of 100 ingredients. It can be
Amazing.
really, really, it's a powerful product.
Wow.
And so we might want somebody to really prep their body to receive it better.
And a
right?
prep would be what? Like a type of a pill or something that would just address some of the
Either a pill or a
basics?
powder.
Got it.
And I think it's important to remember too that we are definitely concerned about people's data. So everything is HIPAA compliant and CLIA. And so names become numbers and there's a security that none of the data is ever shared outside of, to the individual and whomever they choose to share it with.
I'm curious, I was researching a bit more about you, and you talk about the 5 levels or 5 areas of healing or
Yes.
inflammation. Can you walk me through those real quickly?
Sure. So, basically, it's the concept that we are not just physical beings, that we're physical beings, we're electrical beings, we're thought-based beings, we're family-connected beings, and hopefully we have some connection with whatever source means to us.
Right.
And that you can intervene on any of those levels and create healing. And one of the things that one of my dear mentors always would say is, if I find someone who has been in a boat and they're starving and they need water, we can't talk philosophy. We need to feed them
Give
and
them
water
water,
them
right.
and get them back to a baseline. And that's how I see what SNiP does, is we create that baseline that allows you to then flourish into all the levels. Because if you don't have the right nutrients, you can't electrically work, you can't mentally work,
Right.
you can't spiritually work. You have to kind of give all of those parts. And that's another part, is we're not just about supplementation, we're really about education and how do you embrace the quantum wherever you're at.
Right.
Because for some people that might be taking a walk or learning
Right.
other,
Right.
other things that will support them. And so we're really excited about just sharing those tools with people.
And I love hearing that because, again, I always kind of liken back to how medicine typically is treated. And, to get a doctor to talk about your nutrition or go take a walk or a meditation, it just seems like 10 years ago that would never be in their toolbox. So they would just be like, hey, take this statin or do whatever, and then next. So it seems like there's this wave of people or companies or products that are coming out there that are saying, wait a minute, it's all interconnected. Like, you can be eating the best food possible and being amazing, but you're stressed out and you're whatever, you're not moving very much, and that will have an impact. So you guys take more of a holistic approach to, like, let's look at the whole thing. But you take it, interestingly enough, to a deeper level on the genetics level, which is something I hadn't quite considered in terms of how deep that goes. So what is a typical customer? Is it somebody that you get this test back, and based on what you see in the DNA, you then come up with a solution that says, based on where you're at and where we could get you at, we're going to develop a customized pill or powder that addresses these particular needs. Is that right?
That's correct.
Wow.
And it will come right to the individual.
Wow. And so talk about some of the people that you've worked with. I'm curious to hear like success stories, because in the interviews we've done with a lot of people, they've spoken about, a patient that has been kicked around by the the medical system. They've gone from this expert and this expert, and they're trying to fix this and fix this and fix this. And you found this one person that just holistically, but I'm curious to hear like some of the success stories you guys have had with taking this approach.
I have a great one.
Go ahead.
And so we have a wonderful person that we've been working with. And before SNiP was available, they have, a lot of different diagnoses, mast cell disorder and the dysautonomia, which basically means your nervous system doesn't work right. You pass out if somebody's got Tide on their clothing that walks by,
Wow.
10 feet away.
That's a thing.
And oh yeah, it's a big thing. And
Jeez.
we had done every testing you can imagine and tried a myriad of different kinds of ways to support it. And they were very, very sensitive. And they were like, I'm afraid to start doing it. I was like, well, let's just try.
Right.
We know how we can come in with some bigger hitting interventions if we have to. And she started taking the prep nutrition, and then it was like, okay, I'm not having allergic reactions, which, for this person was a huge deal. And then it got to be, wait a second, I'm noticing I can leave the house. I'm not so heat intolerant. I can
Amazing.
not pass out. I can go to Pilates. And so from being in a spot of being so just captured by the symptoms, they now can basically go out and live with their family and go drive the boat.
Incredible.
And go water skiing. And so it's pretty powerful to see just that transformation happen with a few months of just getting onto a very specialized formula for them. And instead of having 50 bottles on their shelf, they had the one,
Yep.
and there were maybe 2 or 3 other things for, I just got exposed to some immune stress and maybe I'll do a little more. But foundationally, the coverage led to less inflammation that we can track on labs, less symptoms from personal symptom surveys, and just a higher quality of life in general. And we see that time and time, especially with people who have tried everything. And
Right.
it's, they're like, what do I have to lose?
Right.
They've just gotten to that point
Right.
because it's not that they're, they're very dedicated patients.
That
But
individual's actually, her doctor has been taking her one by one off of different medications that
Yeah.
they said that she would be on for the rest of her life.
Yeah, my mom
And
takes
scary
20
ones.
pills a day. And I'm like, Mom, really? Like, I take 10 of them. She's 83 and, she's getting older and slowing down, but she has this litany of prescription pills on her. And I'm like, really? You need all of that? And how do they all interrelate with each other? And does the doctor that prescribes this know that it might have so it's, anyway, wow, it's crazy.
And what nutrients are those medications stealing? And
Right.
now you're having symptoms that are actually deficiencies that you haven't put together, because the pharmacist should be checking those drug interactions, but not necessarily the nutrient depletions that come from so many of these.
And part of, I think, at least in my mind, part of the beauty of biohacking, or at least as I look at it, is that everything is measurable. Like, it seems like we're entering this age now where you can get very detailed tests on a whole number of things, and then you can try a treatment or program and retest again and be like, oh my gosh, this hormone is up here, or this is working. So is that a part of it as well, as like you have follow along to say that like this is working and these areas are up and these are down and that type of thing? Or how does that work?
Well, what we really do, your genetics aren't going to change.
I
So
see.
what we really do, and Andi is amazing at, is really educating the doctor or the provider about, hey, these are the tests that you can run so that you can capture. There are epigenetic factors, right? There's lifestyle, et cetera, but here's the blood work. And so Andi puts together all of the panels of, based on these, if they've got this is the blood work I would recommend. It's just like, if you're a doctor and you practice in one arena, that's the arena you're most familiar with. Not everybody knows genetics, and it's intimidating and it's complex, right?
Right.
So we're trying to develop tools for these doctors to understand so that they can better serve their patients.
Yeah, it's almost like doctors are siloed in the sense that, like, I'm a cardiologist, or I'm this, and I'm this, and you just get punted from doctor to doctor to doctor, and they're looking at it from their area of specialization,
Absolutely.
but don't kind of look around it and say, like, how does this all interrelate?
Right.
Super interesting. What's the future of your field? Like, it seems like we're on the cutting edge of, having tests like this, genetic testing, but what excites you guys in terms of what's next, in terms of coming down the pipe? Anything that is like crazy that would be like, well, we're doing this and no one's doing this type thing?
Well, I think first, I think we're the only one that has the ability to do what we do with other technology right now. I mean, to take it and to scale it and to make it affordable for the masses, right? What I'm excited, Q1, right now, we start with this key complex product that is that prep product, and then you get the genetic. But Q1, we should be able to start by lifestyle surveys so that you can not only, you can do the lifestyle. Lifestyle is important, right? And your genetics might not show all of what you go through, but you'll be able to do this lifestyle survey and get a semi-customized, and then you'll be able to enhance it with your DNA, and you'll be able to, that way you will see, hey, I really do need this, or this is why I need it, or you'll be able to manipulate it going, it's the winter months and I need extra D3.
Oh, interesting. Oh, so it could be seasonal based as well.
Well, you're going to be able to manipulate it for you. You're the one that knows what's, or maybe you've got a big trip and like we were talking before, you're eating richer foods and you just want your body maybe to give your body a little help with detoxing a little better.
Right.
I mean, so that's kind of the future. I see so many things. A disruptor, literally being able to track and see how people could either be giving themselves what they need so that they come off of medications.
Right, because that's the idea. The idea is that you're living more of a natural lifestyle where you're not burdened with 20 pills.
It's all about longevity. I mean, we're living longer, but we want to feel good while we're living longer.
Totally.
It's not worth living if you're not feeling well, right?
Totally.
I mean, that was my 11 years of going, or 10 hardcore years of going, I didn't feel good. I wanted my life back.
For sure.
And yeah, I still, with my condition, I go unmedicated. And it's all my customized nutrition that has made my energy, my sleep, my digestion. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I've seen some pretty wild things.
Yeah, and there's some amazing statistic would suggest that like 100 million people suffer from daily chronic pain every single day. So is it like a lack of information, or they have to relate to the existing medical structure as it is, like these doctors and stuff, but it seems like there's this movement toward taking your own health back and being in more control of your own health.
I think we all, in general, we've been so programmed, I can't go see that naturopath or go down that path because it's intimidating.
Sure.
They aren't really sure. Right. They end up spending thousands of dollars and still might not be sure. Right. So I think as we continue to move and progress forward, we're all programmed. Insurance, go see the doctor, right? Right. And there are amazing doctors. Sure. But if we can really address the individual as an individual.
Right, and what a concept.
And look at their DNA and go, okay, here could be your weaknesses, but let's get in front of them.
Right.
Let's be preventative before this happens or that happens, or understanding that and having the foundation, and then you can treat the acute when it happens, right?
Right. Because now it sounds like you guys treat more of the acute stuff, someone who's tried everything, they're frustrated, but you're saying...
Well, we don't treat.
Got it. I see.
We don't treat.
But you get to the point where you can address it before, because I think most people, like, I turned like 50 and all of a sudden everything started hurting. I was like, oh, this is just getting old. And it's like, this sucks. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's got to be a better answer here, because it doesn't necessarily mean you turn 50 and everything starts to hurt. But for me, it seemed like, okay, I'm getting older and shit's breaking and whatever, and this sucks.
And in the past, we all just accepted that was the way life was going to be.
Or just get an extra drink or take a Valium or whatever. Like, that's the way you kind of like mask it, because you don't know there's any other option out there. Right? And the doctor would say, well, you're just getting old, like things suck, like stop eating this food or whatever. But it's a very kind of disjointed approach to the overall health and wellness of somebody.
Right. Well, the human body, I mean, it's complex, but it's simple. Give it the right raw micronutrients, the body will do what it needs to do.
Right.
And it's you.
Right.
So
Super fascinating.
we want to bring it that it's simplified. It's not scary. Right. It's not scary to understand. What it is it's this wealth of knowledge. It's about me. This is me. Right. And we are in the day and age. We want to know about us, but we also aren't going to become scientists.
Right.
So we want to. It's a simple solution.
I think you hit on the key point, which is simplicity, because I think that the extent to which it becomes complex or burdensome or scary, biohacking or all this crazy stuff, to the average person seems like a bit either woo-woo or crazy or that's not going to work. But I think you're right in the sense that you have to make it simple enough to where people, it becomes part of their lifestyle, whether it's a pill in the morning or whatever it is. And that's, I think, going to be the key. Because I think still biohacking is still pretty, I don't know, it's like out there for some people, right? Or the idea that you could do this level of stuff is hard. So
Right.
super cool. I guess that's it. I mean, I'm just really, your work is super fascinating to me and I love what you're doing. And is there anything I missed that you want to share that we can talk about?
I would just say we're really excited about how there's new education all the time coming out. Like, we barely know.
Right.
I mean, it's only been since the 50s we even knew DNA existed. And so what we can do with it is becoming more and more evident as the studies are happening, and how we can affect it with light, with sound, with nutrients, with thought. I mean, here we are in the quantum, and that's part of it. And our goal is to really just keep providing service and support to the individual, as well as to any practitioners that are interested in supporting their individuals. And so it's not really supposed to be so technical that you can't get it. Everybody can get it. And
I'm encouraged with the number of doctors that are kind of breaking out of that mold, like of the people that have been traditionally trained in Western medicine, and they're like, wait a minute, and they're taking a hard left into, you know, sound, or we had a woman that was talking about red light therapy, and like, so more and more it seems like doctors are looking around saying like, this is not working. Like this whole, people are sick, they're inflamed, they're suffering, and whatever I was taught in medical school maybe deals with some of this stuff, but there's got to be a better answer. So it seems like it's also educating the healthcare professionals to say, look, like there are other answers aside from just what you've been taught in medical school.
Definitely. And how do we track it? Because, you know, the human brain is designed to forget the bad and forget the good sometimes too. So it's that part of how can we objectively measure this and make sure we're on the right track and not have to be just blind faithing it. And whether that's, you know, a myriad in teaching people about apps and about wearables and about surveys and about, you know, tests that are invasive. So whatever it is that'll support you where you're at. Because that's really what I think is so important about humans is we have to meet every human where they are and then see where we can all go together within the right value set.
Yeah,
And
well, I
so,
think what you guys are doing is amazing and awesome, and I just want to thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for your time.